potential. Does Cal have the potential and capability of actually making a bowl game this year?
Of a bowl game, yes. The question as written says big bowl game. No. But their win total, I've been kind of bullish on Cal the entire offseason because when you've watched Justin Wilcox teams over the years, they have never been terrible. Like they were 4-8 last year. I'm not trying to say that they were secretly a good team. They were not. But when I say terrible, I think what Stanford might be this year, what Colorado was last year, Arizona in 2021, Oregon State in 2017, Washington in 2009, 1-0 win teams. That's terrible. So Cal under Justin Wilcox has struggled in Pac-12 play, but they've had some nice non-conference wins. They did win a bowl game in I think his third season when they, that was their best year. They went 8-5. They have the ability as a program under Wilcox to win games, and they have a pretty clear identity in that sense. But I think that what it has come down to over the last couple of years is the defense has fallen off a bit. I expect them to be able to bounce back, especially with Brett Johnson there, Jackson Sermon at linebacker. They've always got good DBs. I think they'll be just fine on defense, and they will be better than what they were a season ago, which was below their standard defensively. But the problem has always been offense. They had Chase Garbers for several years, and he's fine. He played hard. He's a gamer. You can win some games with him, but he was nothing special. Then they brought in Jack Plummer last year, and I was going into the year saying kind of the same sort of thing, which is this is underwhelming. I'm not saying he can't make any throws or any plays, but he's a bottom third starter in the conference. That bore itself out, and they haven't been good enough at the quarterback position in a league that has had great quarterbacks and great offenses, and they haven't had the right offensive coordinator in place either. And they made a change to their offensive coordinator position. They moved on from Bill Musgrave. They bring in Jake Spavital from Texas State, where he was the head coach, but he was also the one-time OC at Cal and had a lot of success there. Their offensive line last year was also really bad. They've brought in several transfers along the offensive line, and they have a new offensive line coach. So the reason that I've been, kind of jovially on my show Locked On Pac-12 bullish on Cal is I looked at their win total in the preseason and it was 4.5, and I said, give me the over. This is a 5 to 6 win team, 7 if things go right. But again, bullish is relative. Like I was bullish on over 4.5. Well, Vegas now agrees with me because they have bumped up their win total to 5.5. So they're seeing what I've been seeing, which is that is not a 4 to 5 win team. I think that's more like a 5 to 6 win team. And now you give me Cal's win total at 5.5. I don't know that I would sniff it. But at 4.5, I loved going over because I think it's 5 or 6. But now you're telling me 5 hits the under. Like I'd stay away from it just from a betting standpoint. But I think that the team has got enough talent that they've brought in to be better than they were last year. And the biggest thing for me, though, is the shift in offensive philosophy. You have the most dynamic quarterback you've had in a long time from an arm talent and athlete standpoint since Jared Goff, right? He probably isn't as good of a thrower as Jared Goff. He's not as experienced, but he's the best athlete Cal's probably ever had at the quarterback position. He is dynamic. And so when you introduce a spread concept and you're actually going to consistently run RPOs and zone reads and, get your quarterback on the move and be able to do that. Whereas with Jack Plummer, he's a pocket guy. I think that introduces another level or a step forward that the offense can take this year. And I think that that's a positive. And, if I'm on the outside or inside of Cal looking at it and saying, okay, things have not been good, I need to see real changes. Well, new quarterback, from a play style standpoint, new offensive line coach, new offensive coordinator, and a bunch of transfers. That's the sort of urgency that I'd want to see, and it's why I'm encouraged by what they could potentially do this year. So, and to answer your question, they can make a bowl game. I don't think they can win more than 7 games just because their schedule is so tough. If they had UCLA's schedule, it'd be a lot easier, or if they had Oregon State's schedule, it would be a lot easier, or Washington State's, but they have Cal's schedule, and it's pretty brutal, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, speaking of which, where's it at?
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough because you're you're a former Pac-12 North team. Divisions are gone, but they still, use
Right.
the same scheduling format. So what that means is in a conference of 12 teams in which you play 9 conference games, you miss 2 teams from the other division every year. And
Hmm.
for Cal to hit all 3 of, I suppose they miss Utah's not on there, right? So
Nope.
that's
It's
one of
on
the
ten
that's one of the
fourteen.
is where? Oh
10
yeah,
14.
yeah, there. Yeah, sorry. I was just adjusting my eyes to the graphic there real quick. But for them to hit both LA schools and to have to play Utah while playing everybody in the North, which means you were already going to play Oregon, Oregon State, and Washington State, it's
Hmm.
really tough. And for them to miss Arizona, a team they beat a year ago, and Colorado, a team they lost to a year ago but were better than,
Hmm.
that is not a good break in the scheduling. And you have Auburn in there as your Power Five non-conference opponent. I love that game. I've picked Cal to win that game for quite a while. I have not pivoted off that opinion yet, though Auburn has brought in a talented portal class. So too has Cal.
I
And
mean,
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, that may be, but every time I look at Auburn right now, until they can prove me wrong, I just think of the last 2 years against Penn State when you had the close one. I think it was close in Happy Valley, and then Penn State goes down there to Auburn and just runs away with it.
Yeah, I think that Auburn has, a ways to go, which is why Cal has a chance in that game. But by the way, Cal has beaten an SEC opponent under Justin Wilcox before. So anybody who just says, oh, it's an SEC team, they'll never. They went to Mississippi and beat Ole Miss several years ago. So it's not as if it has not been done or that it
Yeah.
can't be done. And I have even talked to people who cover Auburn who have asked me about that game before. Said, "Hey, what do you think of that game?" I'm like, I think Auburn could lose, and the response I often get is, "Yeah, I keep hearing from people that that's not going to be an easy game, that it could be a slip up," and I say that's absolutely correct. And playing they play all 6 conference contenders
Mm.
according to the preseason odds on their schedule, or else I would say they're locked to make a bowl game. But I think their win total, ticking up in the eyes of odds makers, is indicative of what I've been saying, which is they have the potential. Like I can see 6 wins on here. North Texas, Idaho, those are wins. I think they're much better than Stanford. That's 3. Arizona State, I think they can beat Arizona State. Between Oregon State and UCLA, I think they can win 1, and then they just need to pull an upset and beat Auburn. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
Do you think that this team is too incapable of pulling what people would probably call the blanket upset, where they can beat Auburn, they can beat Utah in Utah, which I'm already going to tell you is probably not going to happen,
Yeah, no,
and
you're not winning. You're not winning at Utah, and you're probably
and
not going to
beat
win
USC
at
at home.
Oregon. You're probably not going to win at Washington. Well, Cal has done weird things in Washington before. So of those road games, I would say Washington is the most likely team that you would beat. Doesn't mean I think it's likely, but it's the
Mhm,
team you have the best chance against between Oregon, Washington, and Utah.
mhm.
But I look at the UCLA and the Oregon State games, and look, I don't think I can pick them to beat USC, but between Oregon State and UCLA, can they win one of those games?
Or both.
Both would be. I would be the
For
most
them.
obnoxious sports talk guy in the world if Cal beats Oregon State and UCLA and ends the year. I just need them to beat Auburn. If they beat Auburn, I am going to gloat for an entire show for 30 minutes. I'm just going to come on and talk for 30 minutes and say, I told you in March this was going to happen. And few, if any, believe me. And here we are. Anyway,
So
tough
last,
schedule.
yeah, last quick question here because we do need to transition for your sake.
Yes.
Does Cal and Auburn have a home and home, or is this just a one-off?
No, this is a home and home. They go to Auburn next year.
Oh, thank goodness. All of this crazy SEC's better than everybody. Well, Penn State just beat you twice. Owl's probably about to beat you at least once, if not twice. SEC's not as strong as it used to be.
I mean, it's not at well. Hold on, it's not as deep, but it at the top, those teams would win every conference in America, every single one of them. Like if you give me Georgia, Bama, Tennessee, and frankly LSU, they will be the favorite in every single conference that they go to. But if you pluck like a Kentucky and put them in the Pac-12, no, they're not winning them. They're not. They're not winning the Pac. It's not that big of a gap.
Right.